Hey guys, today is Friday, February 3rd, and yeah, it's been a minute since I've done a video, and I wanted to get on here and talk a little bit about my off season, what I've been doing, what's been going on. It has been exactly 2 months since my last show. My last show was December 3rd. So during the off season, I like to try new things. I might try some new training styles. I might try some new foods. I still track my macros. I still take progress pictures. I still practice my posing, but you can be a little bit more lenient and a little bit more flexible in the off season. Try some things that you wouldn't normally be able to try when you're prepping for a show. And also, one of the things I like to do during the off season is I like to sort of analyze and look at the past season, what went well, what can I improve on, are there things I can optimize, can I get better at certain things? And so that's what I've been doing these past couple of months, just kind of looking at the last season and seeing areas that I can improve and trying some new things. So one of the new things I tried was the Macrofactor app. Now, if you're not familiar with the Macrofactor app, it's got a lot of different functions. It's a food logger and a food tracker, so you can keep track of your food, you can keep track of your macros, but it's got a lot more than just a food tracker. You can also input your weight, and it will smooth out those fluctuations and give you a trend line. And then it also takes that data, the calories you're eating, the weight that you're putting in, and it can calculate your total daily energy expenditure and show how that's fluctuating over time, which is a really cool feature also. Another thing it does is it's a coaching app. So you can set a goal to gain weight, lose weight, maintain, and it will actually adjust your calories and macros to help you reach your goal. And you can kind of customize it. So you can say that you want this much protein, you can say you want more fats and less carbs, or more carbs and less fat, and it will actually adjust based on your preferences. And so I thought that was really cool. As you may know, I coach myself, and so I take the food logger that I currently use, and I have an app that tracks my weight, and I also have another thing that tracks my total daily energy expenditure. I take all that information and I adjust my own calories and macros throughout the season. And so I wanted to try Macrofactor to see if it would get close to what I would normally do as far as adjusting my macros, and would it be worth it to continue using it throughout the season. Now, I will say that I've tried Macrofactor twice before. I tried the app when it first came out. I want to say it's been 1.5 years, but I could be wrong. I tried it when it first came out. I had a free trial for like 2 weeks. And I liked the food logger, but I didn't think it was as good as my current food logger, which I'll tell you which one I use here in a little bit. But I didn't think it was as good as my current one. And so I ended up not continuing past the free trial. And then I tried it again probably a year or so ago. And again, the food logger was okay. It wasn't great. It had some glitchy things that I didn't like about it. And so I ended up, I think I paid for a month and then I canceled after that. So I've tried it twice before and ended up going back to my current food logger. But I decided to try it again because I heard that with the new year, they had made some upgrades. And I will say it's a very beautifully designed app. The user interface is really, really cool. I love how it's laid out. But anyway, I decided to try it again and I paid for a month. And so I actually I started at the beginning of January, like the first week of January, starting to log things. And I actually backtracked and entered in some data back into December, because it does take a few weeks for the algorithm to kind of learn your body. You have to, tell it how many calories you're eating, what your weight is, and it does take a little bit of time for the algorithm to kind of adjust and figure out and kind of pinpoint the goals for you. And so to help it along, I actually went back and input some data from December. So it had like several weeks worth of data in order to kind of help the algorithm get going. And I will say they made some changes to the food logger, and I really, really do like the food logger a lot more now. It's very easy to use. There's still a few little things that I don't quite like about it, but I will say it's a big improvement from when I first tried the app when it first came out. So the first couple of weeks of using the app, I decided not to go with the recommended macros. And that's because, again, the algorithm is kind of learning your body and kind of seeing your trends and still trying to pinpoint exactly what goals you should be on. And so I did not go with what the app suggested for the first couple of weeks. I was just letting it kind of take the data and run the algorithm. So then after 2 weeks, I decided to see how it would adjust my macros. So I did a check-in, like you check in every week. So I did check-in and it adjusted my macros, and it was almost dead on to what I was in the off season last year. And I thought, that's really cool. Like, it pretty much set my macros at what I had set mine last off season. So I thought that was really cool. So I went ahead, I adjusted my macros and started following that. And I did that for a week. And then I went to check in again, and it adjusted my calories by only 20 calories. So it tweaked a few grams of carbs, and it tweaked a few grams of fat. I just kind of feel like the algorithm should be strong enough to know that 20 calories is within the margin of error for measurements and what's on food labels. And I feel like the algorithm should just say, no, I'm not going to make any adjustments, rather than just adjusting by 20 calories. And so I started really thinking, it's not really telling me anything that I don't already know from the other ways I'm tracking. Is this really useful to me? I don't think it's worth it to continue with the subscription. My current food logger is Cronometer. I've used it for years. I got really lucky. There's a free version of Cronometer and a subscription version of Cronometer, and I'm actually grandfathered in. I have an old version of Cronometer that was just a one-time fee that took away the ads, and so I got really lucky in that I can keep that without having to upgrade to the subscription. And I also got really lucky with my weight app. It's the Happy Scale app, and so it also adjusts any fluctuations and gives you a trend. And they have a free version and a subscription version, and I've got the one-time fee version that is no longer available. And I also use a spreadsheet to keep track of my total daily energy expenditure. You put in your calories, you put in your weight, and it tells you your TDEE, total daily energy expenditure. If you Google it, it's under like Reddit TDEE spreadsheet. It's super easy. You just put in your weight, put in your calories, boom, it shows you what your TDEE is. And so I use all that data to make adjustments to my macros. So that's what Macrofactor was doing, and I thought it would be cool because it would be all in one app. I really can't justify the subscription service when I don't feel like it's really offering much in terms of coaching when it only adjusts my calories by 20. I'm gaining weight at an appropriate pace, so I'm gonna stay at this calorie level for at least a few weeks, maybe a couple of months. I do feel like at some point I probably will bump up my calories a little bit more. I don't feel like it's offering me anything more than what I'm already getting out of the other apps and the spreadsheet that I use. I feel like Cronometer does a better job of the micronutrient tracking. Micronutrients are things like your sodium, potassium, calcium, iron, things like that. And you can track other things like fiber, caffeine, so on and so on. And so yes, Macrofactor does tell you your totals, like you can see how much total sodium you're eating, how much total fiber, et cetera, et cetera. But like, for example, in Cronometer, I can say, oh, I ate a lot of sodium this day. What foods contributed the most to that sodium? And so I can actually click and get a list of what were my top 5 contributors to sodium that day. What were my top 5 contributors to fiber that day? Macrofactor does not have that ability as of yet. They just give you the totals. They don't tell you what foods actually contribute the most to those micronutrients. I do think they are going to add that feature in the future. I'm not sure when. I think it's really good for people that aren't comfortable adjusting their own macros. If you were just a lifestyle fitness client and you weren't sure where to get started on your diet, how to adjust your calories, how to adjust your protein and fat and carbs, and you weren't sure where to start, I think it's a great app for someone that doesn't know how to get started and to keep them on track. But for someone that's very comfortable with adjusting macros, very comfortable with how their body responds to adjustments in calories, I don't think it's very useful for me, and it may not be useful for others that are very comfortable and have done this before. My month is almost up on my subscription, and I am going to be canceling. I actually quit using the Macrofactor app probably a week ago and went back to Chronometer and logging things there. Again, I like the app. I think it's great. I may try it again in the future. I just can't justify the subscription price when I'm already getting everything I need from my other stuff that's free. That's my review of Macrofactor. I've got some other things I've been trying in the off season, and I will probably be doing some more videos talking about some of the other things I'm trying and other things I'm doing to try to optimize everything in the off season. So anyway, that is it for now, guys. Give me a like, subscribe, comment. I love hearing from you. I love your comments. If you have questions about anything that I currently use as far as my apps and my tracking and everything, feel free to drop me a question in the comments. I'll be glad to answer those, and we will see you in the next video.